Hi everyone, it's been a while, but welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk About Records. And I'm going to introduce a new segment for the series called Saturn Return Records. And this is going to be about records that were created during the artist Saturn Return and how the influence of that planetary energy inspired their work and the challenges as well as the pivotal moments of their Saturn Return and how it's connected to their artistry. So we're going to take a deep dive into an album that is a cult classic in the early 00s, and it went through a lot of ups and downs, trials and errors, pivotal moments to create this beautiful work of art, and it is Ivy's Long Distance. So Ivy is an American indie pop band. They were active from 1994 to 2012, and the members consist of Andy Chase, Dominique Druid, and Adam Scheslinger. I might be pronouncing that wrong, I'm sorry. But unfortunately, Anda passed away a couple years ago. But this album here is one of their best. And it's an album that I've always seen throughout the grapevine of my music journey. And I never really took a deep dive into it until the past couple months. And it really is a life-changing album for me. Before we take a deep dive into this record and how it's connected to Saturn, I really want to just take a little time to talk about Saturn's energy and astrology and why it's so important to work of Saturn and understand how Saturn is navigating and influencing your life. So your Saturn return starts between the ages of 28 to 30. That is the first one. And then we have a second one from ages 58 to 60. And then the last one is from 88 to 90. And the first Saturn return is all about adulthood. And Saturn in astrology is karma. It is the teacher. It is the time master. There is so much important lessons that Saturn tries to teach us. And sometimes it teaches us these lessons through restrictions, limitations, tension, hard energy that we have to navigate. Like, you will go through kind of the most difficult circumstances as well as the best circumstances and rewards when you're going through your Saturn return, or well as any Saturn really pivotal Saturn experience that you have in your chart. You will notice a lot of highs and lows kind of simultaneously happening in your life. And as an astrologer, I always try to see where Saturn is in someone's chart, especially when they create their masterpiece. And I feel like this album here is a testament to Saturn's karmic workings with this band and the struggles and also the trials and errors that they went through to create this album, but also why is it testament to this album's success. Dominique is the singer of this band, and she was going through her first Saturn return during the creation of this album. So right in the beginning of her Saturn return, the band was dropped from their record label, which was really crazy because their album before Long Distance, called Apartment Life, was a very pivotal 90s record. And it's an album that I love, and it's really surprising that a record label would drop them after kind of the success. It wasn't super commercially successful, but it was a pretty successful 90s album, I would say. For an album to a record company to drop them after that is pretty insane. But you know, with the workings of Saturn, we just have to trust the process. Sometimes we don't get it in the moment, but we just know, okay, there's a lesson that I'm not seeing and there's some wisdom that I can gain from this. So not only were they dropped from their record, but their New York studio burned down. So it was also hard for them to create music when they didn't even have a place to station all their equipment and to, you know, make art, make the work. So those roadblocks were very evident in the beginning of the creation of this album and the band and its continuation. Not only did they have those type of barriers of not having a record label, but also not having a place to create music, it was just a very challenging writing process, and there was just like a lot of back and forth between the music, and it was also challenging to try to find like another record label to pick them up. So this album took a couple years to create, and by the time it was done, they did release the album first in Japan, and that was in November of 2000, but it did not have its real wide release until the summer of 2021. So they had to wait almost like an entire 8 months for this album to be released for everyone. And it's also because of distribution and trying to, you know, find another record label and all the stuff that goes into all the technicalities. It took a really long time for this album to be available to everyone. So it's just interesting how that works with Saturn, and you know, we have to just trust the divine timing. And maybe it was the right timing for this album to come out, because it did have a lot of amazing hits on this record. I do think this is the most commercially successful Ivy album that we've had. And yeah, we're gonna kind of go through some of the songs and look at the vinyl. So this album is very lush sounding and optimistic, tranquil, which is a complete contrast to the creation of this record and how there were so many challenges to get this actually out into the world. So I find that duality interesting, especially with like Saturn's role during Dominique's Saturn Return. But as someone who was only 8 years old when this record came out, I just remember the start of the century, the start of the 2000s, just feeling so hopeful and like anything was possible. And you just kind of felt like this surge of energy, like this new lease on life. And I feel like this album really captures the feel of that time. And it's just really refreshing to listen to compared to what's going on collectively right now. It's like a complete contrast to kind of the doomsy existential energy that we're finding in music now. But I think this is just so refreshing, and it's a really just like beautiful album to listen to. This is a special edition, 25th special edition anniversary issue of the record, and it has some special pressing, and this is from Vertical Vinyl. They're an indie record company in Georgia, so definitely take a gander at their website and support indie record labels. So let's take a little peek inside. So one thing I love about this record is that there is a little history behind each song and the inspiration, and I love this take. It just feels very intimate, and like you have just a little inside scope of how these songs were created and like the inspiration behind them. And I love this. Like, if someone is who's like a lyric like person, and I love to know the backstory of my favorite artists and like the inspiration they drew to make their songs and some of my favorite songs. This is just like key. It's like, it kind of feels like you shouldn't be reading this. It's like, really? Okay, you're giving me the tea. I love it. So this is like one of the best little gems of this vinyl. We have the inside here, just some pictures of the band. And then we're going to look at the beautiful special edition pressing. So I was very impressed by this. So this is, this is the first one, and it's just this beautiful blue. Like, actually the camera doesn't do it justice. It's more like turquoise, more like teal turquoise than what it's showing up. But it's very beautiful. Maybe this is a little bit better. But this is a very beautiful blue, and it has like this white, like kind of misting, and it reminds me of the foam, like from the ocean waves crashing. And then we have the second disc here, which is this beautiful emerald green. It's a little bit darker in person, but it's just so beautiful. And it's this like also really great kind of creamy, foamy streaking. But I just love the pressing of the 25th anniversary reissue of this record. And yeah, it's been such a joy. I was actually in Florida recently, just riding around on my bike, looking at the palm trees and listening to this album on repeat, and it was healing. I'm like, this healed me. So this is one of my favorite records, and I know you will love it too if you love early 00s, late 90s female singers. And this is an album I think you need to have in your collection, and it's not surprising. This is a cult classic of the time.